Mr. Reed, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you doing, Chris? What's up?
Good. Good. Thanks for taking this time out and chopping it up with a young
Of
brother. I
course.
appreciate it.
Of course, man. Of course.
How's everything going?
Well, it's going okay, but obviously, this world is in a little bit of a quandrum right now, and
Yes.
we got to try to figure out how to not only how to get out of it, but to solve a lot of problems that we have. And it's going to take not only the black community, it's going to take the white community, it's going to take everybody to figure out what's the next move, number one, and how do we alleviate some of these things that are going on. It's pretty tough. And Chris, I grew up in an interracial family, a biracial family, a black dad, white mom.
Yes.
And as a child, I obviously saw racism, every day. And as a little kid, you really don't know what that is. You just go through it and you're just like, okay, whatever, somebody's teasing me or somebody's doing this. But as I got older, when I got about 10 years old, I really realized what was going on. I started figuring out. And plus my mom and dad told me a lot of things too.
Yes.
I got two white brothers. My sister's my skin color. All my cousins and my uncles, they're all white. Their kids are white. So I was like, not trying to figure it out, but people's attitudes towards it are just, it's hard to imagine being in a position of what's going on today.
Yes.
And not doing anything about it, because this is what, to a certain point, the country, this is probably the biggest thing not only is happening in the country, but it's the biggest thing that can tear this country apart.
Yes.
And we have to listen, number one. I think one thing we're not doing is listening to each other. Listen to our white brothers, listen to our black brothers. I don't consider myself black or white. I consider myself both. And do I see color as a major factor in what's going on economically, police brutality, inequality, all that stuff? Of course, there's no doubt about it. It's right in front of your face. And if you can't see that, then I don't know where you're living.
Yes.
It's a thing we got to get a hold of as a country, because this has been going on for 401 years, man. So we have to, get all our leaders together, and we got to talk to each other, and we got to listen, and we got to be willing to, I wouldn't say compromise, but we got to be willing to listen to each other and each other's problems.
Yes.
It seems like there's only problems on one side, and we don't, that's not our problem. It is our problem. It is our problem.
It's definitely our problem. And, speaking of the problem, I'm glad that the NFL commissioner finally recognized that this is a very big problem, especially with guys in the league. When he spoke out about the racism, what was your take on that?
Well, the NFL is a corporation like any corporation. It's a big business corporation. It's $1 billion corporation. And
yes.
let's be real, man. It's mostly black. Let's just be real. It's mostly black players. People come to see
yes.
More of the African American player than they do anybody else. And that's not taking anything away from Tom Brady's and all those guys. But I know Roger Goodell personally. He's from Western New York, right around Buffalo, where I played.
Yes.
And I've had many conversations with him just about different things that maybe I needed to talk to him about as a former player, as a Hall of Famer, that, were on my mind. And I'm sure the next time I see him, Roger has something on his desk every single day coming across his desk that he has to deal with. And, kudos to him for, being able to handle this. But, this is a problem in sports. It just isn't football. It's sports in general. And at the highest level, it happens all the way down to the lowest level, the Pop Warner level. And for him to say that he was wrong about, what Kaepernick was doing and what he stood for, that's a big move, man. That's a big statement coming from not only the commissioner, but sports in general. So, not only do I commend him for that, you look at all the players in the league that are, all the BML movement and all that. These guys are not only passionate about what they do on the field, but they're standing for what they believe in.
Yes.
And sports has a way of doing that with people. We look to our sports heroes, our LeBrons, our Tigers, all these guys that are icons of their sports, and we look to see, what do you think they say about it? And we all are, as athletes, we all should have a voice because people are going to listen to us. They might not listen to their local politician, but they're going to listen to LeBron, and they're going to listen to, the other athletes that are coming out and talking about this. So it's a positive thing that we got to keep doing. And, our leaders in the Black community are, stepping up in full front with this. And I, commend guys like Steven Jackson, man, what a tremendous job he's been doing.
Yes.
Not only for the Black Lives Matter movement, but, how he handled himself through the whole George Floyd thing, man. He was really, it really inspired me to try to do more when I'm on that platform. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Did you have a chance to go out and protest?
You know what? Down here in San Diego, I think it was like the second week that they started protesting down here, and they were peaceful pretty much most of the time. Started getting a little crazy about 15 miles from my house in La Mesa, and, looting and rioting and all that kind of stuff. And not only has this been going around the whole country, but, people have voices that they want to stand up for what they believe in. And we know the looting and all that kind of stuff, that's just not right.
Not at all.
There's people out there peacefully protesting for the cause. And then you just got some idiotic people that are just there just to capitalize on what's going on. And that puts a bad kind of scar on it. But predominantly here, they've been, protesting peacefully. And I think it's dying down a little bit. I still believe that they are protesting in some areas, but that's just the way of people talking, man. And we got to believe that that's what they believe is right.
What do you, as somebody that has a very big platform, what do you intend on doing with this platform to pretty much bring about change?
Just again, I said earlier, talking to your local politicians and talking to people of high status that can, get to the next guy. There's a hierarchy in everything. Somebody has to start at the bottom to get to the top. And as you get into the top, going through all those different stages, not only do you learn a lot of things, but there's people there that can, make the difference for you and be a part of it. I think this whole movement and what's been happening the last, 3 weeks is
yes.
It's going to be the biggest change in this country and since the civil rights movement. And
yes,
I grew up in the civil rights movement. I was born in '64, so when I was like 6, 7 years old, not only were blacks protesting in the streets, but you had Vietnam, you had all kinds of things going on. That the country was in such a turmoil that we didn't know which way to turn.
Yes,
and that's when our leaders, and that's when our people of higher stature, have to come out and try to keep the country, moving forward. Again, this is a perfect time for guys, especially in the sports world with social media and all the things that are going on. You can get out there quicker, you can get out there faster and get your point across, whatever it is, positively, obviously, and you can make a difference.
What message do you want to send to the law enforcement, particularly in Buffalo, New York?
Yeah, I'm glad you did say that because I played there for 16 seasons, and I, just seeing that happened a week or two ago with that older gentleman. They just pushed him down and threw him on the ground, and one of the police officers was trying to pick him up, and he pushed his hand. I mean, I was just devastated, just like everybody's devastated on the things that are happening in different cities across the country.
Yes.
I felt bad because it's not only the city I played in, but Buffalo is a very diverse town. It's very segregated. You have certain areas that are here, certain areas, just like maybe in a lot of different cities.
Yes.
And did I think that something like that would happen? I mean, I'm kind of on the fence, but I really don't know. But I was really just, I felt bad not only for that gentleman, but I felt bad that I played there, and then I saw that.
Yes.
And I know the mayor. I know Byron Brown really good. I've talked to him on many occasions, and I'm sure his hands are full and his desk is full about what's happening there. But um, I hope he's listening to the people, which I know he is, and he's doing the right thing for that city. And Buffalo's a very tight knit city. They love their football team. They're very tight knit, close. And again, just to see that, I really felt bad that I was not only a player up there, but very, very part of that community.
What was your experience like playing for the Buffalo Bills?
It was great. It was great. You talking about, to me, the best fans in sports. And, every fan is going to say that their fans are the best fans in sports. But, these fans I've known for 16, 17 years playing there. I was a 21-year-old teenager, really, when I got drafted by them in 1985. And there's no better place I could have went. A small town that I came from a small town, Allentown, Pennsylvania. And really they embraced me, not only as a player, but as a person. And I was able to get in the community and be a part of what they do, be a part of the community as a player, and really enjoyed my time there. Very diehard fans, love their team. Out there in the cold, the snow, the rain, the
Yes.
sleet, it doesn't matter what the weather is. Buffalo fans are going to be out there. So to all the Buffalo fans that are joining us and watching, big shout out to you guys. You guys really keep that city moving.
Those fans are extremely dedicated,
Yeah.
especially to support y'all in snow. I can't do it. I'll be the first one to tell you. Ain't no way in the world I'm doing it. Y'all can put me in the penthouse for crying out loud, and I'm
You
still
gotta
not coming out
you
there.
gotta experience it one time, man. You gotta
Look,
see somebody out there in 20 degrees with no shirts on, and they act like it's 80 degrees. So you
that's
gotta
what
see
you
that.
call crazy. That's what that is.
Yeah, that's called loyalty. That's
Some
crazy,
crazy loyalty.
but it's
That's what it is.
crazy. You're right. You're absolutely right. But again, the fans there they're the heart and soul of that city. Um, when I got there in '85, wasn't too much happening in Buffalo. Downtown was like an eyesore. They only have the Sabres and the Bills, and they have the Bison. So they're not, obviously, they're not Chicago. They're not LA. They're not New York. They're a small town that has a professional football team that they will live and die for. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, they definitely will. And
Yeah.
you were somebody that had a chance to take the Bills to 4 Super Bowls, even though you did not come away victorious in those Super Bowls. What was it like to represent them in arguably the biggest stage in all of sports?
Yeah, it was a great experience because again, seeing those fans in the stadium when it's cold and the weather's all crazy, you just saw their heart. So there's no reason why you couldn't play out your heart for them being there supporting you. And again, to go back to this country, we need the support from everybody. If we have everybody supporting everybody and not this side versus this side and the police versus the blacks and the whites versus this, we got to all get together, man. And just like the COVID-19, we're in this together. We're in this together, and in order for this to move forward in a peaceful manner and get the results we want, we all got to sit at the table, and we all got to do the right thing.
All got to do the right thing. We all got to stick together. And that's actually what you guys were able to do in arguably the greatest comeback in the history of the NFL. Take me back through that game, man. I want to say you guys were down 35-3 against the Houston.
35-3.
So you
Yeah.
guys were down 35-3 against Houston. Like, how did you all come back to even win that ball game?
I don't know, man. This is something that was in us. I think we just believed in ourselves, and because there was nobody in that stadium except those fans that believed in us, and besides ourselves. And once we got the fans on our side, and we got them back into the game, because obviously it was 35-3 with only a quarter and a half to play, your chances of winning are pretty slim to none. But there is a slim chance. That's what we believe. We believe there was a slim chance there. And if we ended up doing the right things and got a little momentum going, the Houston Oilers weren't going to be able to deal with that momentum with the fans and what was going on. And that's what happened.
And they
I
gave you
think
the ball. That's what happened. They gave you the ball.
they gave me the ball. And again, a lot of times in sports, athletes, there's a moment in their career that they remember the most, that it's their time. And I've had many a times over the years, on the field, but I think that one time not only defined me as a player, but it kind of defines me today.
Yes.
That not only of what kind of person I am, but how I go about doing things, how I speak to young kids, how I inspire them. That game really is kind of like the foundation of not only never giving up, but finding something in yourself you never had, you thought you had. And that's really what life is about. It's about finding something that you didn't think you had, and you find it, and it changes your whole life. So, that's really what I use.
It changes your whole life. And you had actually just mentioned speaking to kids, and you started up the Reeve Foundation. What made you want to start that up?
Well, I think, as athletes, we have a platform. And it doesn't matter if you're not an athlete or if you're an athlete or not, you have a platform. And if you're able to use your name and use your platform to make a difference and inspire difference, the man upstairs, God wants you to do that. And, I started the foundation in my hometown through the Boys and Girls Clubs of America, because I was a club kid most of my life, for about 10 years. From like age 6 to 16, I was a club kid. So the club was very important in my life, and building confidence and inspiration for me to know that, some things aren't going to go my way, but never give up. So, I use that now as a club ambassador, with Shaquille O'Neal and Jennifer Lopez and all these great actors, athletes, entrepreneurs. People don't realize a lot of these people, they are who they are and what they do because the Boys and Girls Clubs really set the tone for them. And, I go around speaking at different clubs all over the country every year, telling my story as a club kid and what I went through as an interracial kid in a biracial family. All
Yes.
the way from being bullied, all the way from alcoholism in my family, all the things that, kind of define me. But I wasn't supposed to be where I am because of these things.
Yes.
I wasn't supposed to be where I am because of these. But obviously, it made me stronger. And this is where I'm supposed to be. And that's the inspiration. That's the kind of stuff I tell these kids that, and I don't go into clubs that are, bougied out. I go into the clubs in New York, down in Bedford-Stuyvesant, and
Yes.
I went to a club a couple years ago in Cleveland where they had 5 gang cars outside the club. So these are the places that they really need it the most. And I started a reading program and telling these kids how important reading is, because it is a major statistic for African Americans in our country, young kids, that they don't know how to read at a certain level.
Yes.
And it is so important that they get the tools to be able to read, because that's a major stone for them to step on to get higher in life.
Uh-huh.
And this reading program is incentive based, where they have to read a number of books by a certain number of time. And these kids, we use the game of football to inspire them. They move their football for every book they read, and then they score touchdowns. The more touchdowns, more books you read, the more touchdowns you get. And then their prize is they go to an NFL game with me, and they get this VIP status.
They get the VIP status, hanging with the Hall of Famer himself. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you get a chance to go out into the clubs and you're speaking to those kids,
Mm-hmm.
and you are basically showing them this is what you can be, how do you, as somebody that is a Hall of Famer, tell the kids you can be something other than a football player and still be successful?
Exactly. And most of our kids look to the TV for their inspiration, or their phones. Uh, they follow their heroes. They follow the people they think they want to be like. And, you know, a lot of them that I talk to want to be athletes. And I said, well, that's good and all. But I think just being a good person is probably the best thing.
Yes.
Be a good person first, and all the other stuff comes. And then you got to work hard. Um, I think kids nowadays they think failure is the worst thing that's ever going to happen to them. And believe it or not, it's probably the best thing that's going to happen to them, because
Yes.
you'll realize what that means and what it feels like, and then you'll work harder and you'll focus more. So you can be I tell them, you can be anything you want to be. I wanted to be a police officer, believe it or not, and I wanted to be a astronomer when I was in high school and when I was little, because I was always fascinated with the stars. And you know, maybe it was a metaphor for me when I looked up. That's, you know, and so they can be anything they want to be. And me and my girlfriend Teresa, we go to these clubs and we have these reading rallies, and we ask the kids what they want to be. And
Yes.
it is tremendous what some of these kids say. It is
What
not
are
just, okay, I want to be an athlete, but I want to be an engineer, or I want to be a technician. I mean, some of them, these are kids in the Boys and Girls Club.
yes.
And so this just not only goes to show you that what they're being taught there, what they see there is great, but what those counselors at those clubs are teaching those kids and put them in the right situation to succeed.
Putting them in the right situation to succeed. That's what you're doing, and that's what somebody had to do for you, especially, you know, drafting you into the league. You had a phenomenal career.
Mm-hmm.
What game for you sticks out as the best game you've ever played?
Um, I always remember the first game I played because it was the first game. Uh, you know, a little 21-year-old kid from a small town called Allentown in Pennsylvania, on the big stage, something I always wanted in my life. And then it was, you know, time to perform. And then I remember, you know, obviously I remember the comeback game, and then I remember the last game
Yes.
I played, um, because it was a culmination of a lot of things, a lot of you can't, you're never going to be, you shouldn't be here. It kind of chokes me up a little bit because I see that in all those kids I talk to, because I'm sure they get a lot of it.
Yes.
And yeah, that last game was pretty tough because, you know, my life has been sports, and it's been the game of football. And now, you know, the game of football is how I inspire people and tell them where I came from and what happened to me. So there's going to be a kid one of these days that's going to come. I'm going to be an old man. And there's going to be a kid that come up to me and says, you know what, you came to a Boys and Girls Club in Kansas City, Missouri years ago, and I remember some of the things you'd said when you spoke. And then I'll just go, well, that's what God wanted me to do. So, yep.
Was it hard to let the game go?
No, not at all. Um, I think it was time, you know, when I was done, it was time for me to move on to a different phase of my life. You know, the good Lord gave me 16, 17 good seasons to play in
Yes.
the NFL. Some guys don't get 4 or 5. So I was blessed in that manner. And then he turned my direction towards, you know, doing other stuff. And
Yes.
this is what you're going to use your what you did in football for. So it's a win-win situation for me.
How has your relationship with Christ grown from the time you entered the NFL to where you're at now?
Great question. Great question. I was, you know, when I came to the league, I was just like any other athlete, full of myself, thought I was, you know, Superman. I could do anything. I would never get hurt. I'm better than everybody. All these, you know, kind of different attitudes I had. As I got older and things started happening, you know, I wasn't the so-called invincible person I thought I was. And, you know, God really put a lot of different things in front of my face that he was pushing me towards, and I was pulling, you know, he was pushing me towards it, but I was turning around and walking away from it because I thought of who I am.
Yes.
And then probably about 5, 6 years ago, I mean, I've talked to a lot of kids, a lot of guys on my team, and started going to Bible study, and I kind of was into it, but really wasn't. Uh, and I think he pulled me that way because he was trying to give me hints a little bit.
Yes.
And it wasn't until probably about 6, 7 years ago, when I got inducted to the Hall in 2014. The following year, I was blessed to go to Israel with 14 other Hall of Famers.
Yes.
And not only did it change my life, but it changed my life.
Yes.
So to go to the Holy Land, and I went with my girlfriend, Teresa, who is a woman of God, and God's
Hey, Teresa.
She's over here somewhere. She's in the other room doing her work. But
yes.
I think God puts you with people that he thinks, not only he thinks that are right for you, but are going to bring you towards him. And that's what she did. So I was over in Israel for about 10 days. And really changed my life, man. It was a game changer. And now, you know, my pastor here in San Diego, Miles McPherson, is a former athlete.
Yes.
You know, Miles went through a lot of things in his life. He was on drugs, doing cocaine, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Got saved 35 years ago.
Wow.
And has a big congregation here in San Diego. Does a lot of things for the community. We've done some things through COVID-19 together with other players. We have a Bible study every Wednesday that we, every Tuesday. She's Teresa. Every Tuesday.
I heard her in the background.
And it's funny thing about her, whenever I'm on some IG or I'm doing something, I can hear her in the background. If I'm not saying the right things,
Yep.
I hear her talking.
I know the feeling, man. I know the feeling.
She means well. It's a little crazy, but she means well. So I really changed, man. I just changed my whole, you know, I kind of unpeeled. And do I got a lot of work to do? Of course, we all had. There's only one perfect person, and he's in heaven. And I got a lot of things to do that I need to, you know, work on, like we all do.
Yes.
But, you know, my eyes are on the prize and on the focusing on that. And I'm not perfect. I go through my times just like anybody else.
Yes.
And but I do have a base now. Before, I never had one. You know, I thought my foundation was football. I thought my foundation was this. My foundation is Jesus. That's really my foundation. Because nothing's going to happen without not only believing in him, but, you know, kind of trying to live like him. And it's hard.
Yes.
It's hard to live like that. But he's a persistent God. God's a persistent God, and Jesus is persistent. So, but that really changed me, and really focused in on not only other things, but really focused on myself a lot, because
yes.
I kind of lost myself a lot, and I went through a time with my daughter where she, you know, kind of got on the wrong side of the fence, and she was doing drugs and almost died. So God was giving me hints on a lot of things. You know, I was up for the Hall for 8 years, and it didn't happen, and I was a little sore about that, and it wasn't really. I think he told me that's not the most important thing in life.
Right.
The most important thing is taking care of your daughter and getting your daughter right. And you know, he did that, and he, you know, in 2014, I got inducted to the Hall. My daughter's sober, and these are all the things that he envisioned. But, you know, I need to keep, you know, moving towards him and getting better.
Absolutely.
And it is hard. It is hard. So that's, you know, pretty much it in a nutshell.
But that's still amazing, though, to, you know, hear a former football player who is a Hall of Famer, that is a believer, that is not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ. So that is incredible. I appreciate you for your time. Real quick, if anybody wanted to learn more about your foundation, if they wanted to
Yeah.
learn more about you, how can they do that?
Well, they can go to obviously they can go to my Instagram, Andre_Reed883, or go to arfoundation.org. And I don't have it. They can go on my TikTok too, man. I started doing TikTok, so that's pretty fun. That's a great way to get out there. But my Instagram, my TikTok. What else? What else, Teresa? Yeah, that's Andre Reeve Foundation, arfoundation.org, and we're doing a lot of things. What's that? Okay.
Now that was funny. The look on your face was priceless, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, Andre Reed. Andre, before I get out of here, I told my pops I would do this. My dad is a Dolphins fan, and
Oh yeah, that's what I'm
y'all
talking
kept
about.
beating up on the Dolphins. So, Dad, this is exclusively for you. Andre, can you give a shout out to my pops for Father's Day, man?
Hey, happy Father's Day. What's your dad's name?
James Gunther.
James, happy Father's Day. I hope you have a great day coming up in, I think it's like a week or so from now, a week and a half. And sorry about your Dolphins, man, but, you know, I scored more touchdowns against them than anybody. And just want you to know that, yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know. But, hey, Dan Marino was one of my favorite guys, man. I love some Dan Marino. Every time I see Dan, we always chop it up about the olden days there, the Bills-Dolphins rivalry. It's not like it used to be, but, yeah, the Dolphins are Tua. Y'all got Tua, right? Yeah, y'all drafted Tua. So I think there's an upside to him. I mean, the only thing I got with him right now, I think he's going to be a good quarterback, but I'm still a little skeptic with the hip. I don't know if that's what's going on with that, if it's healed, because it looked like a real bad injury. What happened to hip? Ask Bo Jackson. It ruined his career.
Yes.
So I hope it works out for him. That's why obviously they picked him in the first round, and I just hope it doesn't work out when you come to Buffalo.
Man, this has been amazing, ladies and gentlemen. Andre Reed on the Chris Gunther Show. Before I sign off, shout out to Teresa from VPR Brandon. Thank y'all for setting this up for your boy. I appreciate it. Andre, thank you for your time, man.
You got it, man. Nice talking to you, man, and keep doing what you're doing, brother.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see y'all next time.